Hey everyone, Ryan here, or M&R Productions, and welcome to my comparison video of both LEGO Star Wars Mandalorian Starfighters. Well, I guess both if you don't count the poly bag as a true set, and I don't for this comparison video's sake. Anyway, on the left here we have the 2012 Pre-Vizslas Mandalorian Fighter, set number 9525 with 403 pieces, originally released for $50, which now is equivalent to about $60 adjusted for inflation. And on top of that, if you actually want this set, you'd have to buy it on eBay for about $300, and that's for new in box. When released all the way back in 2012 in the United States, this was a Walmart exclusive, meaning you can only buy it at Walmart and LEGO stores, which may have been the reason it was kind of unpopular, thus leading to it to being 50% off at some LEGO stores. That's a pretty insane price drop. Nonetheless, the set had 3 minifigs and some beautiful looking box art. On the right, we have the summer 2021 set number 75316 Mandalorian Starfighter with 544 pieces. This one releases for $60 US, which, like I said, adjusted for inflation, makes these essentially equivalent as far as their release price goes for this comparison. This is what the back of both boxes look like, and it gives you an idea of kind of how LEGO has changed the back of some of these boxes over the years. You can see in 2012 was a completely different vibe than we see in 2021. Anyway, we'll be using the M&R comparison system to get through minifigs, playability, design/display, value, M&R opinion, leading us to a final score to hopefully figure out which set is better along the way. And if you're trying to decide between buying one or the other, this may help you decide. Although, given that this one costs $300 new in box on eBay, it's going to be a pretty easy decision if you're just trying to get a Mandalorian Starfighter at any cost. As formerly mentioned, each set did include 3 minifigs. On the left, we have the minifigs from 2012, and on the right, we have the minifigs from 2021. From Pre-Vizsla's Mandalorian Starfighter, we got Obi-Wan Kenobi, we got a regular Mandalorian, and we also, of course, got Pre-Vizsla with his Darksaber. I also love the little cape that they gave him. I think it looks great. It's got a really nice print on it. They also gave him leg printing, which they didn't give to either of the other 2 characters, although notably the year is 2012, so it wasn't really the norm. So for 2012, Pre-Vizsla is a spectacular figure. Unfortunately, the figures that he's being compared against came out in 2021 and have been decked out as far as the detail goes. He's going up against Gar Saxon, a Mandalorian Loyalist, and Katan, and in my opinion, it's pretty clear to see which set has both a better minifigure selection and a higher quality of minifigure. And that's not to knock the 2012 set. I still think it's really good and stands up to this day. It's just going against something that is much, much better in my opinion. Now, there is a little area where I think 2012 does have a slight advantage, though. Pre-Vizsla and Gar Saxon both have hair in the show. However, Pre-Vizsla is the only one to actually get a hairpiece. And then the other thing where I think 2012 has a bright spot over 2021 is that they actually gave the Mandalorian Loyalist, or the regular Mandalorian, a face in 2012, but in 2021, it's just a black head. Now, I'm not opposed to the black head look. I think it looks really good when the helmet is on and you actually just see the black underneath the helmet, because you can otherwise see through to the skin. And that is certainly a little bit inaccurate to what you see in the show, of course, so there is a pro and a con to that, but I still think it's really nice to have the face in the older model, as that is what LEGO typically does, so I find it odd that they gave him a black face in the newer version of the set. Oh, and Bo-Katan's hairpiece looks awful like the video, if you agree. The last point about the 2021 characters is that despite the jetpacks completely covering them basically all of the time, if you leave the jetpack on like the instructions tell you, which is what I personally do, you wouldn't see the back print. But the back print is there, and they all look very good and very detailed. In 2012 does not have any back print. So you can see the extreme quality of the 2021 figures shining through here. And ultimately, the 2021 figure selection and quality is superior to 2012, in my opinion. Now it's time to talk playability. The 2012 version lacked any of the modern amenities as far as play features go that we've become accustomed to and that many collectors don't like. I see a lot of disdain for stud shooters and spring-loaded missiles as far as the look of them, but functionally, for playability, they are very good. And 2012 doesn't have any of them. So maybe if you're looking at it from the other perspective, that's a good thing. But for playability, of course, that is bad. 2012 does have some other functions, though, like the guns on the front can actually move. Now, It's not really supposed to happen. It just ends up being the way the design is. But as far as being a play function, literally for kids, this counts for something. Anyway, the cockpit can open up and you can place 2 Mandalorians inside. The same deal for 2021, of course. I believe the ease of use is just a little bit better for getting the characters in and out because it doesn't have this thing in between the legs that adds just a little bit of friction. I'm literally talking just a little bit better for 2021 as far as getting the characters in and out. Also, Pre-Vizsla's little cape thing does get in the way a little bit sometimes, so that's another little annoyance, but at that, a little annoyance. Both these are going to close up just fine, and for all intents and purposes, it's an equal feature. Now, as far as the side of them goes, you do have the stud shooters in 2021. That's a nice play feature, and then on the wings, you'll see nothing for 2012, but again, in 2021, you have the spring-loaded shooters. Now, 2012 does have a bit more junk in the trunk here. You can actually open up this hatch on top, and you have both a storage area for the Darksaber. I don't know if I really want to call it a play function or design feature, but either way, it's there. And then we actually have another little box in here, which we can get out by dropping this little hatch at the bottom, which is going to hold a weapon for you. So there's actually a small blaster inside of there in this case, and now it is no longer inside of there. To return that to its rightful spot, all you have to do is close this bottom hatch and then take it and guide it in from the top. It can be a bit tough to place in properly sometimes, but just like that, it's in there. And then you can close this top hatch and you're good to go. There's also some weapons on the back that can spin 360 degrees. You'll see the same feature on the 2021 model as well. It's just a singular blaster in this case, but it also spins 360 degrees and for all intents and purposes is the same. Headless Ryan here to show you the final play feature of each set. All you have to do on the 2012 version is raise the landing gear up, and just like that you can drop the wings down and you'll be ready to go. The 2021 version doesn't have landing gear. We'll get to that in the design portion of this video, but you just drop the wings down just like the 2012 version, and you can actually spin the cockpit 360 degrees on both sets, so you can actually fly these around. They're very swooshable, and that's kind of what this final play feature is spinning the cockpit with the ship as you're flying around. This works very well. You can spin it 360 degrees on both models and have it flying around in some type of dogfight as you please on Mandalore or wherever you want to do that. So yeah, it works very well in both cases, but as far as the actual winner of playability, I think 2021 comes out on top thanks to the spring-loaded shooters and the stud shooters that it has on the side of the cockpit. They're both very good as far as play features go, but 2021 just seems better. The 2021 set has dominated so far, but that may be about to change with the design and displayability category. 2021 definitely has some better looking stickers. They've added a bit more detail where it was lacking in the previous model. You can also see that echoed on the engines back here. I like the way that looks. And where the compartment is on the 2012 version, you can see an improved sticker in 2021 with just a tad bit more detail. So while stickers aren't always something people love, I think 2021 has done a good job of using some slightly better updated ones. Anyway, as far as the actual top-down design, you can see the older model definitely is a little bit more rudimentary as far as its design on top, just not using as many of these smaller detail pieces that 2021 really gets to put to use. It's still a good model in 2012, but the actual detail is just a little bit lacking. You could certainly debate which engine design looks better, but I think 2021 looks a tad bit better as well. As far as the rear cannons of the ship, I do prefer 2021 as well. It just looks a little bit sharper. They've tiled it off. It just looks generally nicer. Now, if we're counting this whole thing as a design, yes, having all of this storage built in the design is spectacular. 2021 completely omits that. There's nothing of the sort. You can't do it, doesn't exist. Kind of a shame. The bottoms of either set look equally rough as they're both just the undersides of the plates, and as such they try to mimic the design on top. They certainly do, but it doesn't quite come across as well as it does on the side where you can really add in more detail. So it's a bit of a shame, but the undersides of these types of things just never quite look as good as the other side, even though they're supposed to technically be the same on both sides as far as the wings go. So that's definitely a detractor for both sets, but when it's detracting on both, it cancels out as far as this comparison goes. The real way to fix this would be to build something like this with bricks that are built at a 90-degree angle, unlike this, which is built with plates. Unfortunately, that's just not the design they went for, but it's probably the stronger design to do it this way anyway. A brilliant part of the 2021 set designs is this little black Technic piece here. It's actually a stopper which stopped the wings from going lower than they should. 2012 did not have any such feature, and as such you could unrealistically move the wings around, and so having that stopper, in my opinion, is a really good function of the design. Now, all of this being said, there may be one big thing that is going to cancel out all of the positives for 2021 for some people, and that is the lack of landing gear. It completely ruins the displayability for 2021 if you know what you're looking at. Let me show you. If you know your Mandalorian Starfighters well enough, you know that this is not the true landing position of the Mandalorian Starfighter. To land the Mandalorian Starfighter, you actually have to raise the wings up to about a 90-degree angle, like so. And unfortunately on both sets, they actually can go back a little bit farther. They don't have a stopper on either of them for as far back as they can go until they get about here. So you can put them to about here. And then in 2012, they had a little bit of landing gear here on the front end so that you can actually have it at the proper flat angle. Now, this looks great, works really well for display and as far as the design of the thing goes. Now, for 2021, however, very unfortunately, there appears to have been some space constraints on the bottom of the cockpit, and for whatever reason, they were unable to figure it out or work it in to have an actual piece of landing gear at the front of the ship. Now, as far as what they did instead is they just put some bricks under here that don't really do too much, and so now you have something that should look like this. It should stand like this, right? However, it does this. And look, this didn't look too bad until I brought out the 2012 version and put it next to it for myself. As soon as I saw this side by side, it practically ruined the way the 2012 one looked for me. Now, this isn't a difficult fix. However, this fix does remove the ability to rotate the cockpit for that playability function, so that's definitely something you'll have to work with. But all you really need to do is raise it up by 2 plates, so I actually put them here on the bottom of these particular bricks. You just need 2 plates of height, however you achieve that, and just like that, you have a much better looking Mandalorian Starfighter for display with an actual bit of landing gear that holds it up at the proper angle. So I think that's a really important thing to have, and you can add it yourself, but unfortunately it's just not part of the included set. So as far as the comparison goes, we're comparing one set to the other. This is really lacking there. I'll keep this short. There is an issue with a gap between the cockpit and the rest of the ship, and in 2021 that is very prevalent because of the way the design is. In 2012 they were able to cover it up thanks to the way that they plated around it. Unfortunately, it's just very obvious here, and it doesn't look very good to have such a giant gap. So you can think what you will about that, but the fact of the matter is, gap. I find it hard to say that the 2021's design, and certainly displayability, given the lack of proper landing gear, is better. While I think they've done a lot of great things with this newer model, it's very hard for me to look past that difference there. It's just rather unfortunate that with this slight downscale, they were unable to continue to have landing gear on the bottom of the cockpit. So for that reason, I think I gotta give the slight edge to 2012, although I could certainly see, if you really don't care about that, why you would go the other way. As far as value goes, I think both sets are equally matched, and I also think this is a great example of why piece count doesn't matter. 403 pieces, 544 pieces. That's a 140 piece difference. However, the 2012 set with 140 less pieces is significantly larger. You can see the wings go higher, the cockpit area is bigger. Like, obviously, what they do with a lot of smaller pieces is really good, adds a lot of detail, but I think deriving all of your value on a set based on how many pieces it has is really flawed because of an example like this. I think this perfectly shows what I like to defend LEGO for, and that is that price per piece is kind of irrelevant. That being said, the newer set also has some really good minifigures, which in my opinion add a lot of value, and it's hard to look past that 2012 doesn't quite live up to 2021's incredible figure selection and quality. Overall though, I think value-wise, as far as these sets, when they were originally released, I think they're pretty even. Although that being said, if you're going to buy the 2012 one on eBay for $300, the value you're getting is going to be significantly less than what you're getting for $60 in 2021. Oh boy, it's time for my favorite category, M&R opinion. Yeah, that's right. I think both of these sets are very good. I think they both have pros and cons to them, as most things do. Some cons bigger than others. Looking at you, 2021 Mandalorian Starfighter with no landing gear. And fortunately, that can be fixed with literally 4 studs, so that's really good, at least that you can do that. It still is annoying, but at least it's something that is solvable that will make the model look much better. It's genuinely night and day when you add those studs in, and now it actually sits at a proper angle. And honestly, real shame on you, LEGO, for this pseudo false advertising, right? Like, they make it look like it would have landing gear and actually sit properly above the ground, when that is just not the case. I think I'm gonna call it a draw for which one I think is better. I don't think I really have a true preference, because I think they're both really, really good, minus the landing gear. And that leaves us with the final score of 4-3 in favor of the 2021 model. Again, there on the right. Let me know which set is your favorite in the comments down below and why. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, you can subscribe by pressing the big red button. And if you want to check out more LEGO Star Wars comparisons, you can see them on the end screen now.